presented by Scott Credit Union. Your
Hockey Fan Report. Aloha and mahalo and welcome to the show. I am Guy, the White Blues fan, and I'm your host on the program that is by a fan for a fan, and you got to know absolutely positively about you, the fans. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is going to be an interesting show. I think Ashley should be along in a little bit, and Wendy is going to come along. Just before we went on air, JT broke the news. He doesn't let me do it. Thank you, JT. But Chiarot is out of the blue sweepstakes. According to Jeremy Jeremy Rutherford, the Blues didn't stick around until the end with Chiarot. Sounds like Army knew it was going to be too much and just got out. And I'm glad. I didn't want. I was working on an article last night, and then my website went down, and my website's down hard. And I went back, and I went back, and I tried to do it a lot. I still got a little bit to go, it really looks to me that rentals don't work, right? I can only find one instance, and I don't even know if this instance, I want to talk to Wendy about it, is even like if you would consider it like a dead on, this is a guy that, this guy helped them win the cup, right? Bill Gurun to Pittsburgh in 2009. I don't know if that's a big enough guy there to say, yeah, this guy helped them win the cup. At least in my mind, I'm going to, again, 2009 was a downtime for me. I just don't, Panthers gave up a high prospect, 223 fourth round pick, and 2020 first round. Yeah, that was too much to me. Okay, and then we'll talk about Bozak here in a second. So actually, Chris Yockey can tell us a little bit about Bozak. He was actually at the practice that he got hurt, I think. Right? So Bozak apparently was hurt in practice yesterday, and now is out 4 weeks with the lower body. Sounds like he took a shot off a foot or off a body part and broke something, right? That's what it seems like to me. 4 weeks, that's a broken bone normally. Ashley's working on getting her mic to work. No problem, Ashley. Take your time. We'll be here. I actually think that the Bozak injury is a blessing in disguise, right? And I say that because you're looking around at all these pieces, and you're thinking, what do I need to bring in? Well, you know what? You got a piece to bring in for Bozak. You don't need to bring anything in. You have that veteran leadership that can play the fourth line effectively in the minor leagues. That is James, the real deal, Neal. That's right. You could bring Neal up. Now, the only way you can bring Neal up is if Bozak goes on LTIR. I right now, I look at, Shockey says he didn't see it. Must have been at the far end. I'm not sure. If I'm the Blues, I don't think look, the Avalanche have made two moves, semi-significant moves. And, I know they got a shutout yesterday, but that was against the Kings. And while the Kings are second in the Pacific, they're still not like way up there, I can see that win there for them. But they're telling the team, I'm sorry, when you make these deals, I'm gonna take one off the manhood. When you see these deals, it makes you wonder if yeah, my website's down too. So I'm not sure what that is. I gotta figure it out. Yeah, just last night was a tough night for me, man. I just my ears buzzed really, really bad last night. I couldn't sleep. I've been dozing on and off today, so I don't even know how much of the full hour I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. The best mom is Joel Edmondson good. Well, he's hurt, so Joel Edmondson did. He wanted the trade. That trade for Justin Falk. I mean, that was a good trade for the Blues, right? And that's Edmondson's younger, but right now he's still hurt, so I'm not sure where to go with that. Oh, abso-freaking-lutely, absolutely, 100%. Okay, he's back from his injury. Okay, I didn't know that, so I'm off a little bit. But no, I think absolutely 100% Falk was way better than Edmondson, right? Yes, Edmondson wanted to get traded. I think Edmondson was just didn't feel like he fit in, and again, remember Edmondson was a younger guy, and he was playing third pair minutes, thinking he could get better minutes elsewhere. And Berube in 1920 was not playing young guys, and when a young guy made a mistake, he over-punished them for it, right? So that had a lot to do with it. I guess tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, so we get a St. Patty's Day Windy City hockey today. How you doing, Windy?
Doing all right. How are you?
Not too bad, man. The craziness has begun today, huh?
Yeah, the silly season has officially begun. Trade deadline is on its way.
Yeah, so I was doing some research last night, and maybe you can help me with this.
Yeah.
You're one of them guys with a great memory. When was the last time you can think of a rental coming in and helping the team win the cup? And I'm not talking just like a third line or a fourth line or a depth guy. I'm talking a top six forward, a top two to pairing, a starting goalie. I mean,
yeah.
a big trade guy that they bring in.
Well, the last time I really think of a true rental that went to a team that made it to a cup final that ultimately did not win it, because usually the big trade deadline names get traded, they don't win the cup.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened in recent years. I don't.
Someone said Bill Guerin in 2009 with Pittsburgh.
I wouldn't even say he was a top liner. He was more in the depth role. He was
that's what I would think.
Liner. When Pittsburgh acquired Marion Hosa in the 2008 trade deadline from Atlanta, Hosa was viewed as the top player in that trade deadline to go to a team that ended up going to the cup final that year.
Yeah.
They lost in 7, and then Hosa ended up leaving to go to Detroit the next year.
Oh, hold on. Nitro, you need to hold on. You haven't been on the show before. I'm going to debunk that statement right there. I'm going to absolutely 100% debunk that statement here in a little bit, right? And stand by. The Blues do not need a defenseman. That is a myth, an absolute myth. And one of the things that I'm talking about right now is the fact that these rentals don't work, right? They just don't work. And for the Blues, think about Ryan Miller, right? Everybody wanted Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller came here and said, I don't want to be here.
And after 2 games, he got lit up by the Blackhawks in the 2014 playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he was junk, right? I mean, he was absolute junk. And then he walks away. We lost a goalie that's still in the league. Now, could we have won a cup with that goalie? Maybe not, but we could have gone further with him than we went with Miller. Right? Yeah. Right? We gave up Halak and two other pieces for Miller.
Where is Halak now?
I think he's in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah, he is in Vancouver.
Right?
Yeah, he is. I forgot because he's just the pure backup in that team.
Right? The Chiarot conversation's over. So Florida made two moves today. They made a trade with the Rangers that freed up some cap space, and that allowed them to make the move with Chiarot over. Right?
Yep.
Again, here's another one. No, I'm going to debunk this. Everybody, you tell your friends, every one of your friends that says the Blues need a defenseman, get them on the show. I'm going to debunk this 100%. I'm going to prove to you that the defensemen are not our problem. Right? Chiarot is injured. You guys, if you say we need a defenseman, you are looking at the surface and not underneath it. The surface is not the issue. Ashley, you're ready to go off.
Mm-hmm.
Go, Ashley.
I mean, it's very abundantly clear that the problem is getting out of our zone and into the neutral zone to carry into offense. That isn't on defense. They're further down by the goaltending. It is on our forwards who are not playing defensively when needed.
Absolutely. It's not our defensemen. It's our forwards who don't get the puck out of the zone. It's our forwards who allow the other team, who get in the neutral zone and stand there and wait for a pass. When the pass comes, they're not moving. So by the time they get their feet moving, there's three guys on them, right?
Yeah, there's no momentum. There's no...
Or when the pass comes from behind the net, they're standing at the blue line and someone knows what's coming and they're in the way, right? Everyone points to Falk for the third goal against the Jets. No, see, here's another one. No, we do not. It is not our defensemen. We are the seventh best team in goals against average in the league. We have, I think right now we're sitting at ninth in penalty kill, maybe a little bit higher. Because we haven't played in a couple of days. It may have jumped. Scandella is not a bad defenseman. He's
Overpaid.
not.
Overpaid, yes.
At $3.5 million, I don't think so. Right?
I think so.
A lot of people were saying when they got him and signed him to his contract, they were saying that was like the really overpayment for Scandella. It should have been.
For me, the overpayment is Parayko.
What is Parayko making?
$6 million. You have Parayko, Falk, and Krug all making $6 million.
Okay.
Parayko is overpaid. Scandella at $3.5 million is not overpaid.
For being a bottom D pair on most teams, he would be overpaid.
I don't think he'd be a bottom D pair on most teams. I think he'd be a second or a top.
I don't see it. He was a bottom D pair when he was in Montreal, and Montreal at that time had a solid defense.
Well, again, yeah, they had a solid defense, right? It's not. Everyone sits there when do you play the game and you analyze the game a lot like I do, right?
Yeah.
When you see. I don't know. When you watch the Blues play the Blackhawks, and you watched them a couple of times this season, what do you think? What did you see that made you think either the Blues are a good team or they need to repair something, they need to work on something? What did you see in the Blues gameplay?
Well, if you're comparing it up against the Hawks, that's really a bad comparison because the Hawks have not been good this year.
Well, I know, but that's the only time you're going to ever watch the Blues play.
There's been a couple times I've just throw on a game and it turns out to be them being on. I haven't really noticed much that they need to do. Maybe they need to do a booster in their backup situation because I don't trust Bennington going much further for their team.
I don't think Bennington's the issue as much as everyone else does, right? I mean, you look at, for me, you look at the 4-game losing streak, right? And everybody goes, oh, our defense. They kept climbing on our defense. To me, none of those 4 games were defensive blunders per se. They scored 7 goals in 4 games. 2.2 goals a game.
I would take that anytime this year because the Hawks are not averaging anywhere close to that.
Oh, they're higher than that, aren't they?
They might be higher than that, but if you watch games, they should be much lower than their goals for.
The Blues are averaging 2.4 or 2.5 now.
Okay.
Or not 2.5, 3.5 a game.
Okay.
They're averaging 3.5 a game. They score 2.2 in those 4 games. Bingo! Right? Bennington did play. I thought Bennington played decent against the Jets. Right? I really did. There were defensive. Let me get over here. Defensive, not defensemen, defensive, and there's a different thing. There's a different thing between defensemen and defensive. Miscues, right? Only one of those miscues could be contributed to a defenseman, but the miscue was the fact that the forward wasn't where he was supposed to be, right? The pass was up to, I think the fourth line was on. I think Costin was supposed to be there, or not Costin. I can't remember who was supposed to be there, but has Scandella's passing, he's moving to the side, right? The communication is gone, right? It's not the defenseman, it's the play of the defensive forwards, And no, see, everybody, I'm telling you guys, we do not need a defenseman. That's not our issue.
Are they looking at the point where they want more depth on the defense? You can never get.
Everyone wants a top 4 defenseman.
Oh, okay. So
and they want to trade Scandella for whatever they can get.
I wouldn't say. I honestly, this is coming from a Blackhawk fan who does not like St. Louis.
Yes,
I wouldn't say they need to get a top 4 defenseman. They have that already, but maybe if they look towards like a bottom D pair or a 7th man just for a depth role, that's a smarter move.
We don't even need that.
I don't even think that. With Wallman and Mikkola?
That's true.
Right? Right? No, I don't know. I think the thing that we need more than anything else is a 2-way forward. Right? With Bozak hurt, you got Neil, but Neil's not a 2-way forward. Yeah, Bozak got injured yesterday.
Okay.
No, Eric, that is an absolute idiotic move. First of all, Charon's hurt.
Chikrin's on LTIR, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they're saying he might be back next week.
Okay.
They're saying he might be back next week.
Original reports were saying he could be put on LTIR.
Out 4 weeks. Now they're saying it's not as bad.
Okay.
Right there, that trade right there, first of all, the money doesn't work. Second of all, that is subtraction by addition. You are going to get worse with that trade than get better. And I cannot find, and I was working on an article before my website went down. The Athletic, Jeremy Rutherford put out, Who Says No, this article with all these fan-based trades. And I looked at every single one of them, and almost every one of them to me was subtraction by addition. Right? Subtraction. Prunovich is hurt. He's not even playing, Nitro. Right? Prunovich is out for the season with surgery. I don't see him coming back. Right? I'm just trolling. Okay, bud. Well, I mean, when you're going to put something up like that on the show, you got to understand. I'm with you. I agree with you, Eric. I think standing pat is the right move. I really do. Deadline deals don't work. They do not work.
They only work if you are going in with almost $8 million in cap just to make a move because you have someone on LTIR. The last time it really worked was the Blackhawks in 2015 when Kane went down and put on LTIR till the playoffs. The Hawks acquired 2 players for the deadline and then went on to go to win a cup. That's the only time you really see deadline deals really truly work.
But they acquired depth pieces. They didn't acquire.
They acquired 1 depth role player and 1 really solid number 2 centerman.
Who?
Antoine Vermette.
Vermette's still in the league?
Not anymore. He's retired now. But at the time, in 2015, I'm talking about, when Kane was put on LTIR, the Hawks went out to acquire a centerman, and it led to Hawks going on to win the cup with adding some players at parts that they knew they needed to go on for a cup run. But
okay.
That's the only time I really see deadline deals work out. If you have someone on LTIR, you have a lot of cap space, and you know your players coming back for the playoffs, that's when I notice the deadline deals tend to work.
Now, the Blackhawks were so good in the early 2000s. Now they're so bad. What happened to the Blackhawks?
Stan Bowman.
I think it was a lot more than Stan Bowman. I think they have too much money tied up in too few players.
I would say it was more so Stan Bowman in the way he would trade players after signing them, or even trading players that should not have been moved.
Like Panarin?
Yes, like Panarin, especially Panarin.
I heard there was a locker room issue with Panarin.
I did not hear anything about that in Chicago. I heard more about that with him in Columbus.
I think that it broiled over in Columbus, but I think that was part, because you just don't see Chicago trade a rookie of the year, right?
Well, at the time, Bowman was known to doing stuff stupid, and what he did was another Bowman blunder, what I would love to have called them, because he reacquired a player, Brandon Saad, and every fan at this point was so tired of Bowman reacquiring players. He just reacquired Andrew Ladd at the trade deadline. He reacquired Johnny Oduya at the trade deadline. The Hawk fans were just at the time angry with him and how many times he would rehash and reacquire players. And I'm seeing fans wanting to reacquire players at this deadline for no reason, because they don't need them to reacquire. They need to rebuild.
Well, Matt Lowe asked a question, and I didn't want to put it up because I don't want you to get mad, but it's not me asking it, so I'll put it up. But it's not me asking it, okay? Okay, Wendy?
No, I don't.
Wasn't me asking it. I promised I wasn't going to ask you that today.
I know. There was reports yesterday he's actually considering doing a re-sign after his contract's up with Chicago.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to get into that because I know you and me have beat that horse. You know how I feel. I know how you feel.
It seems like every time I hop on one of your streams.
Well, I'm backing away.
I know.
I wasn't going to bring it up, and I didn't bring it up.
I know.
So I'm being good today.
I
right?
just don't see the Hawks moving Kane at this time. If they do consider it, it's going to be next year.
I agree. I agree with you. I just don't think. I think that it's the wrong move, and that's just what it is, right? Nitro says the Blues need to shoot the puck and not pass all the time. They are way too pretty with the puck. See, I kind of yes and no, right? I thought, the Blues had all of these issues with not shooting enough or, missing the net and all this. The Blues are one of the best teams. They have one of the least amount of misses in the league, like they're fourth. in misses.
Shooting percentage?
Huh?
They have
Not shooting percentage. Not shooting percentage, missing the net. Shots that miss the net.
Okay.
Right? And even in shooting percentage, I don't think they're that bad. I think.
Okay, just because their accuracy is good doesn't mean that they're shooting the puck enough. I've seen many times where we've made one too many passes.
How many?
So I get what he's going with.
What would you say the average shots per game for St. Louis is this year?
Well, I know that they're at 30.8, but I think that the majority of the time you will see it between 25 and 30.
Okay.
Right? And they have too many periods where they've had 5 or less shots.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they even went one period with one shot.
Really?
Yes.
I was so mad that game.
Yeah, so
I bet.
I think they ended up winning that game. Did we end up winning that game? Or
No, they took it to overtime and lost.
Okay. And you know what? To me, that's the thing that I think everybody that's what magnifies overtime. The 3-on-3 magnifies what I'm talking about with the defensive play of our forwards, right? And even Berube brought it up. I think it was Chiarot who jumped into the play instead of staying back like he was supposed to. That caused the goal. That caused the 2-on-1 that gave up the goal that lost the game. That's something that needs to be worked on in practice. The other thing that absolutely, positively needs to be worked on in practice is how you defend and attack the neutral zone, right? Wendy, I don't know if I've talked with you about this, but do you play chess?
I did a couple days ago just because there was a chess thing, and I haven't played it in over 10 years at that point.
Okay. Do you understand, and I'm asking this, do you understand the strategy of chess, or are you just a piece mover?
I understand the strategy,
okay.
Yeah.
What is the most important part of the board? Right? If you've studied, or if you're ranked, that know, this is something where this is the part of the board where ranked players, they will do everything to control it, right? And in fact, this is how much of a nerd I am. I studied Game 6 of Bobby Fischer and the Russian, right? The one from Pawn Sacrifice. I've studied that game, and Fischer makes moves that throw his opponent off because his opponent doesn't think he's trying to control this, and that's exactly what he does, is he ends up controlling that part of the board and just destroys his opponent there. Spassky, right? The middle 4 squares. The middle 4 squares of the board, that's it. You control those. Every opening, every gambit is to control those 4 squares. Right? Yes, that's how much of a nerd I am. Every gambit is to control those 4 squares. Well, hockey is a chess game on skates. The neutral zone, that middle ice, 80% of your goals come from right there. They come from the neutral zone. You're playing the neutral zone. That's where your goals come from. That's where their goals come from. You have a strong neutral zone game, they don't score goals. You have a weak neutral zone game, they score goals, right? And that's something that's fixable without bringing somebody in. It's a what do you call it? A teachable moment, coachable moment. It's coaching. That is something you can fix in coaching. You can, this is where we have the biggest following. We need to get better in this area. Now, Nitro, I do not disagree with you, but I also don't agree with you, right? The only issue with Krug and Falk being together is you have 2 offensive defensemen together. I would love to see, and they've done it in the past, they've dropped Krug down with Wallman and brought Bortuzzo up, or vice versa, right? Or brought Krug down and Wallman up. And I like that better, right? I like that better, but the problem is Berube doesn't play that third pairing enough. If he got that third pairing into the 15 to 18 minute zone, then that would work. But he doesn't. He keeps that third pairing at about 12 minutes, 12 to 13 minutes, and that hurts. You can't have Kruger Falk not playing for 13, only playing 13 minutes. All right, I mean that just that takes you out of your game. You know, at least in my eyes, right? It really
because you're
does.
going in the wrong direction. You need to move one up with Parayko, scoot Mikkola down to the second, and then put the other one in the.
I think Mikkola complements Parayko better than anybody else, though.
No, I think it's too much size because we have too short of defensemen to have that one line that's, you know, so tall. It doesn't distribute our size well.
That I don't disagree with. Okay. Now Mikkola has played, not Mikkola, Scandella. The last two games, I think for the most part, has played pretty well with Parayko. Right. Mm-hmm. I think he has played well with Parayko, and that has helped. But I wouldn't mind. I'd be okay if he was on a second. I know you don't like him on the top pairing. I know you don't. But in the 7 to, what was that, 3 game, 7 to 4 game, he was spectacular.
Yes, and I said he was in that game, but he did not follow up the next game playing well. He's not consistent enough to be on the first pairing.
Yes, Brian. Oh, the classic Stan Bowman rehash tree.
Brian's good at that. Brian's kind of like an out-of-town guy, right?
Brian's great at it. He's also great at the Rockford Ice Hog.
Yeah. So Brian somebody that you brought to me, I think, right?
Yeah. He's one of my subscribers.
Okay. Well, every time I go live, he's on, man. So and he will bring me. He'll let me. Oh, I remember Hanzus. I loved Hanzus.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Hanzus was awesome.
Yeah.
He wasn't the greatest player when he came back to the Hawks.
Yeah.
His first time around, yeah, he was pretty good, but Hanzus was a good depth player.
I think right now, if I'm here's one of my biggest issues with the Blues right now. They have, and get a load of this, four head coaches on their staff. Think about that. They have 4 head coaches on their staff. I think that's right. They have Montgomery, or maybe 3. Okay, maybe 3. Maybe I'm missing one. They have Montgomery, Hitchcock, Berube. I want to say there's one more.
Hitchcock's back in St. Louis?
Hitchcock is a coaching advisor.
Okay, so he's not an actual coach.
Yeah, but he's part of that staff.
Okay.
Right?
I didn't even know he was back in St. Louis.
Yeah, I want to say there's one more. Right? I want to say there's one more. I know I'm missing it. Or maybe
I wouldn't consider
3.
Ott to be, so.
No, Ott's not. Right?
So I would say 3.
Forget Van Ryan, I don't think has ever been a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
At least not 3. At the NHL level. But you have 3 NHL coaches. The only problem is those 3 NHL coaches are the exact same guy. Right? They're the exact same guy. Berube, Hitchcock, and Montgomery are all defensive-minded coaches that don't play young players enough or punish young players over punish young players, right? To me, what I would want, I'd want someone on that coaching staff that is younger, that knows the finesse game. You know, I would be looking at coaches from Colorado, Florida, Tampa, Boston somewhat, Carolina, not so much Toronto, or maybe Edmonton, to get somebody in there to say, hey, this isn't the problem that what you're trying to coach up is not fixing the problem. It's actually exacerbating the problem. By trying to coach up the defense and not fixing what is creating that defensive problem, you're not fixing it, you're exacerbating it, right? I still think, and if you watch tomorrow, do you guys play tomorrow, Wendy?
We don't play until Saturday.
Okay, watch the game for me tomorrow, right? If you can.
Okay.
Right? We play Pittsburgh, so it's a big game, right?
Yeah.
I think you'll see what I'm talking about. Right? Now, the only problem with Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh's not the speedy team everybody thinks they are. Right? They're a quick team, but they're not a speedy team, if that makes sense. Right?
They have a little bit of a bite to their game.
They have some bite, but they're actually more of they're becoming more of that hard-hitting, hard-checking team with one really, really good line.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they are.
They're starting to turn into what the Hawks were getting ready to. Haven't been good in a while, because I honestly think this could be the last run for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised. See, I don't even think, in the article I wrote for Full Press Hockey, I had them, of my top 10, I had them at number 10. And them and the Rangers could have flip-flopped as far as I was concerned, because I don't see them getting past Carolina, which is who they would face. I just don't see it. I don't see them having enough. I think that the two teams, when you have two teams like that can beat up on each other, you don't get past the next round very well.
Yeah.
Right? I had Calgary at 7th. To me, Calgary has moved up. Right?
I would have Calgary higher than that.
Well, again, I wrote this article 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Right? Let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, okay. So here's my ranking, right? And I wrote this on March 3rd. So almost 10 days ago, right? Number 10 was the Pittsburgh Penguins. They were second in the Metropolitan at the time. Number 9 was the Rangers. They were third in the Metro. Number 8 was the Minnesota Wild, third in the Central. To me, Minnesota has probably slipped down to 10.
Yeah.
Calgary Flames were 7th. I had the Panthers at 6th, though they've moved up for me a little bit. I had the Maple Leafs at 5. I think the Maple Leafs are still in that spot. They have some goalie issues right now that I just think will get exposed in the playoffs. I think they can get past one round. They're not going to get past two. At the time, they were in first place, right? I think they were third in the Atlantic, so they were going to end up getting Florida, and I think they probably could have beaten Florida. At number 4, I had the Blues, who are second in the Central. And no, that's not me being a homer. One of the reasons that I had them there are two reasons. One, their most likely opponent at the time was Minnesota. And they are 10-1-1 against Minnesota in their last 12. Right? And they play Minnesota a couple times this season. Minnesota does not want to play St. Louis. And second, would come down to special teams, because at this point, their special teams have been really good. They've slipped, but I think they're going to get back. I think that this is an anomaly. And what we saw before, where they were second and fourth in power play and penalty kill, respectively, is what they actually are. Third, I had the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just think that, the fact that they're chasing that history, that dynasty title was enough for me. I had the Carolina Hurricanes at second and the Avalanche at first. I would swap the Hurricanes and the Avalanche now, because I think the Avalanche have made too many moves.
Yeah.
Right?
And they've been in a streak. I mean, they did have the 2 shutouts back to back.
Yeah.
However, before that, they were doing worse than the Blues.
Yeah, they were for a bit. Nitro likes Logan Brown. I do too, but you're not going to see Logan Brown is going to stay on the bench till the playoffs, right? They're going to bring somebody up that they can. They're going to put Bozak on LTIR and bring somebody up so they can sit Brown. I absolutely see that happening. And Bushnevich should be back. Right? What kind of leader do you think O'Reilly is? I think he's the leader the Blues have. I don't know. I honestly don't know. The one thing that I don't like about him is he puts too much on himself.
And I agree.
I said during my Christmas article, O'Reilly's Christmas wish is bigger shoulders. Right? It's supposed to be funny. I'm the only one that got it, I guess.
No, I laughed.
Rangers are interested in Ricard,
Yeah.
Richard Ricard Raquel. You know, I don't understand the trade line deals because they don't work. If you get a guy that's not a rental, you get a guy that's got a year left. Now that has been shown to work, but not that often, right? Not that often. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 instances going back to the guy from Boston. I can't think of his name now. Won the cup with won the cup
Ray
with
Bork? Ray Bork.
Yeah, Ray Bork, right? But there's not as many instances where you get a guy with that 1 year left and he leads you to the cup the next year, right? There's maybe 5 going back 30 years,
Yeah.
right? So to me, that's saying it doesn't work, right? 5 instances in 30 years, that just doesn't.
The issue with the deadline and when players go to a new team, they're going to take 10 or so games to know how their new team's going to handle and what they're going to want them to do. The deadline is tougher on the players than anything. If they are going to a new team, they don't know the system until they just get there. It takes them like 10 games to learn the system, get it going.
And that's actually quick. I think it takes longer than that. I mean, look at
take longer
Falk
for
took
sure.
a whole
It took
season.
Falk a season. It took Krug. It took Krug. It took Falk. What did they play? 70 games in the 1920 season because he came into the playoffs, into the bubble, and was outstanding. Right? He was outstanding in the bubble. I mean, he showed us in the bubble what he could be, what he was going to be in 21 and this season. So about 70 games. And to me, it took Krug probably about 50 games, 56 games before he got it. And this season, he's showing what he was in Boston. Right? Now, forwards, I think, are different. I think forwards
have an easier time on the transition.
Yeah.
Defensemen have the most difficult time. Look at Steph Jones. He was viewed as a top defenseman before he got traded to us, and he has not been what he was living up to. His contract that the Hawks stupidly signed to.
I don't think that's a bad. I know you see this season. You know, I talk about surface, right?
Yeah.
That's a surface opinion to me, right? You're looking at the surface saying he's not worth that contract. Well, when you look at Falk on the surface of his first year, he was not worth the $6 million we paid him. He is definitely worth that $6 million now. I think that Jones is going to be that guy coming in the next season when when he's the focal point of that defense.
What was all that you gave up to get Justin Falk?
We gave up Edmonton, Polk, and 1 pick. I don't remember I think it was a 1st-round pick.
There's the thing. The Hawks gave up way too much for Steph Jones, and Jones does not live up to that trade. They gave up Adam Boquist, who was an 8th overall draft pick. They gave up the 10th overall pick from last year, and that ended up being Cole Sillinger, who's in the NHL. And they gave up the 1st-round pick for this year for Steph Jones, and then paid him an 8-year, $9.5 million contract.
Yeah, that's overpaid.
But
he could live up to it down the road.
Yeah, but the issue with the Hawks, they are going to have a new head coach again next year, and that's going to mean a new system.
You don't think that they're going to keep the interim?
I don't think we'll keep Derek King.
Right. Well, who are the Hawks going to go after? I mean, instead of saying who, what style of coach do you think they're going to go after?
Coach good for developing young players that are willing to give the young players more of a chance on the ice.
Do you see a coach coming in and again, I'm just asking a question here, and having Kane and or Tays drop down to lower lines, like playing less minutes and allowing the young guys to get those minutes and make those mistakes?
I don't know about that because they already are giving Taze less minutes every game
Okay.
because Taze has the injury history and they are keeping him where he is not playing every minute of a game.
Hmm.
But for Kane, have a star player who's still producing points every night. They're going to play him more, so they might play him with players that are learning the game more from a star NHL player. So I could see somewhere in that factor, but it's going to be more on what a new coach would do because honestly, I don't know what type of coach they go after. I'm hoping for someone who brings an offensive game with some defensive development into it because the Hawks have not had that in recent years.
Okay, I know, and that's a fair point. I would like to see the Blues bring in an assistant coach or a former head coach that was more of a offensive minded or younger minded guy.
Yeah.
You think the Ice Hog coach stays or no?
No.
No.
I
Right?
think Kyle Davidson has a plan in place, and it does not. I think he's going to be redoing anything that involves development because the Hawks have been one of the worst teams at developing young talent.
That could be because Bowman was getting rid of it before you even had a chance to get him developed.
That, but it's also they've had an issue with developing young defensemen in recent years.
Right. I'll tell you what I could see now. Ott and Van Ryan have both been rumored to be on short lists. They were last season, and they probably will this season. So if one or both of them go, I could see the Springfield Thunderbirds coach, and I can't think of his name, being brought up to the Blues bench, right? Okay. Because you look at how well those guys integrated into the team this season when they've been brought up.
Yeah.
Right? And how well like Lindgren got better. You've seen Hoffer, who's had some issues, play well up here. You saw Gillis come in and play well up here before we traded him. We should be getting more future considerations for Gillis and Clifford now. See, that's something nobody's talked about. I'll be honest. If I'm St. Louis right now, I'm going to Toronto and saying, you know what? You just signed Clifford to a 2-year deal. You got this guy or this guy, prospects to bring up, somebody that they could bring up and use during the playoffs.
The Leafs are an interesting team to me because they've been leaked with a couple players on the Hawks already. And what's been rumored, they want Fleury, they want Calvin DeHaan, they want Brandon Hagel. The issue is, I don't know what the Leafs do because they need to open up salary cap if they want to acquire DeHaan or Marc-Andre Fleury.
Fleury's making what, 8, 7?
7.5 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I don't see that's one of the biggest issues. This is why I think the Blues need to stand pat, right? Because of our salary cap, we only have $112,000. Right? Mm-hmm. Anybody that you bring in, you have to take the same amount of salary out. And it's going to be 1 or 2 players plus draft picks. And I just don't think it's worth it. I just don't think it's worth it.
I'm not a fan of Dan Bylsma, Brian. I didn't like what he did with Pittsburgh. I definitely didn't like what he did with his next team that he coached for. I'm blanking on the other team. Buffalo. I did not like what he did in Buffalo. I do not think Bylsma's the right coach for the Hawks.
Yeah, but you gotta. I don't hold any coach accountable for Buffalo.
I know, but Bylsma, I just don't see him as a development coach. He has not been known to develop. He acquired a team that went on to win a Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh. He came in as an interim coach and won the cup that same year in 2009. Then got fired in 2014 and went to Buffalo. And he didn't do much to develop with Jack Eichel and Middleset on their team.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Bylsma's the right coach for the Hawks.
They were NHL Network said that they thought Flower would be traded. Do you think that happens?
As much as I want to say no, I can see it happening.
Hey, Tammy, I got a question for you. You asked earlier, you said they were talking on the NHL Network about, what I was talking about, deadline deals. Do you know if that was part of their Ask Us Anything? Because I sent that question in to them. I didn't see them talk about it, but I was wondering if they showed the question. My Twitter is @HISTL Blues fan. Just wondering. It'd have been nice if they did. So I know she talked about that earlier. I just right now I don't like the trade deadline. I mean, I get it, but I don't like it. I think that there's too many question marks and teams absolutely over freaking pay. Right?
Yeah.
And they hurt themselves for years down the well.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So they might have asked my question and I missed it. Too bad I can't go back and watch it because I don't re-show NHL now.
Oh.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I know about this, Brian.
For Dominic Kubelak, what do you think in return for? Is he a goalie?
No, he's a winger.
Winger.
So, Brian, I would like to see at least try and get a second round pick for Kubi. He's known to be a 30-goal scorer. I know this year's been a terrible season for him, but Kubi could be, if he goes to a different team, I could see Kubalik get back to a goal-scoring way. And if it's to the Ducks, I would love to see them try and acquire Maxime Comtois from the Ducks because I think he's a good young forward to have on the team for a rebuild.
I'm wondering. Hold on, I just kind of lost my place. Man, I had something, a thought in my head, and it just went like. Okay, what about Steve Ott? What about Steve Ott for Chicago as a head coach?
No.
And ask him why.
I don't want someone who's known to be a grinder in the NHL. I don't think that is what the Hawks need for a head coach.
But he's been responsible. He's been responsible for the Blues special teams.
Okay. I don't want another chance. The last head coach they had as a special teams coach, what Jeremy Colleton was, Jeremy Colleton was viewed as a special teams head coach, and he completely failed at it. I don't want another head coach that's known for special teams.
Okay, fair enough. And Ott may not be ready. Van Ryan might be. I think it's Van Ryan, the other coach, but I know Ott's not ready. Let me double check something here real quick if I can. Sometimes this stuff's hard to pull up. My internet's running slow.
Good one, Brian.
But
oh, Mike Yo.
Yeah, Yo.
I don't see why teams like Mike Yo. I have not seen
because Yo is a player's coach, and players seem to like him. The problem is he loses the locker room too quick.
Yeah,
right, and that's what happened.
He's not a good head coach to have a long shelf life.
No, right. That's what happened in Minnesota. It's what happened in St. Louis, and I think it's already happening in Philly. Right.
Yep. Well, then
I
again, Philly
think the
gets
Claude Giroux thing is the other thing. Also, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about them healthy scratching a guy that they might trade? Do you think that should be an allowed practice?
if they already have a trade in place, but they can't make the trade finalized for another day, I can see why. But what Seattle is doing is just a disgrace, in my opinion. Seattle just healthy scratched Mark Giordano, who's going to and during this game, he's getting a silver stick for his 1,000th game.
Which would be this game, but they scratched him for it.
No, he already played his 1,000th game.
Okay.
I believe the other night.
Okay.
And they're giving him a silver stick tonight, but they're healthy scratching him because
they kind of did that. They did that. Who did? They did that with somebody else, but he was injured, I think.
Yeah.
That happened with somebody else. Chara, Zdeno Chara.
Yeah, Chara.
Right.
They did a celebration for his passing Chris Chelios for most all-time games played by a defenseman.
Yeah.
But he was also injured the night that he was getting that ceremony. I understand that. But you should not healthy scratch a guy going for a silver stick.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, like the Chiarot thing, I didn't like that at all. And I don't think that they had that deal until today. I don't think they had that deal yesterday.
Yeah. I think they just wanted to really protect him because Montreal has had issues keeping players healthy all season. And
it's from the Chicharin getting injured and being off the trade, not being. But you know what? Actually, to me, that made Chicharin a more a more acceptable option with his injury than with him not being injured.
Yeah.
Right? Because let's say this. He's making what, $4 million, I think it is? 4 or 5?
I thought Chickering got a $6 million contract.
Okay, $6 million. I bring a guy, I trade them 2 guys for $4 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bring Chicharin in at 6 and immediately put him on LTIR. I now just opened up $10 million in cap space.
Yeah.
To make another trade and use that LTIR loophole for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? How do you fix that? How do we fix the LTIR loophole for the playoffs?
They have to have the Player Association and NHL to agree on a change in their CBA. That's all I could think on.
Well, here's the thing. But what change? How do you make that? How do you fix that and get that change? Oh, damn. Minnesota just scored with 12:04 left, so it's 3-2 Minnesota over Boston.
Who scored?
I didn't get to see who it was. Greenway.
Greenway. Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I say, right? Because in the playoffs, you're allowed to bring in. You can have your 23-man roster, and then you have your black aces, or your guys that can, come in if something happens, right?
Yeah.
I say that you take the initial cap, right, which is 83, and you add $5 million to it for the playoffs.
Yep.
Right. So you now. What you're saying is, now I know. See, here's the thing. There's a reason the cap doesn't count during the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what that reason is? And I'm just wondering. A lot of people don't.
It's been a while since I've really remembered it because I haven't had to deal with it for recent years.
It's because the players don't get paid during the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, the players don't get paid during the playoffs.
They get bonuses.
They get bonuses based on how far they go.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the thing that the NHL doesn't do is they never tell you what that bonus was.
Yeah.
That is kept private. Now, I know Major League Baseball puts it out.
Yeah.
I don't think basketball puts it out, and I don't think the NFL puts it out.
The NFL does.
Okay. But I know the NHL does not put out what players get
I'm
for
pretty sure
the-
it's a certain percentage to NHL contract.
I think it's a percentage of the playoff revenue,
Okay.
right? And it's broken down. The Stanley Cup champion gets this much of it. The Stanley Cup runner-up gets this much.
Yeah.
The semifinal runner-ups get this much. Quarterfinals get this much, and so forth, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I think it breaks down. And then the team is allowed to break it up how they want. I know baseball does it in shares, right? They have so many shares, and then some guys may get a quarter of a share or a half a share or an eighth of a share. They may take 2 or 3 shares and break them up amongst guys that only, a guy that got called up and played for a week might get an eighth of a share.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I seen there. Blackhawks sent down Chad Yellman to Indy Fuel.
Yeah. That happens with Yetman. He's yet to make it to the NHL. I feel bad for Yetman.
Goes up and down, huh?
Yep, he keeps getting sent down from the ECHL to the AHL. He's yet to make the NHL.
What about Alan? And I can't say his name.
AV?
Or Paul, huh?
AV and Paul Maurice.
Yeah.
I like Paul Maurice. I think he could be a good option. AV is known for playing the vets too much. I don't want to see him as a head coach.
I think you need to go. You need to go with an AHL or a college coach.
Where I've been thinking they could even go over to Europe and look for a coach over there also.
Yeah, I just thought of one. I thought of somebody, and I actually, you're going to say no, but if you hear me out, you might. Are you ready? And I just lost his name. Oh man, I just lost. First name's Rick, and I can't think of his Zombo. Rick Zombo.
Okay.
He just coached Lindenwood University, Division II, to a national championship. They're moving to Division I next year, right?
Okay.
He's taken a program from the ground up to a national championship in 5 years.
I would like to see him maybe go to the AHL first before an NHL job, because I think it's too soon for an NHL job if he just moved a Division II team to a Division I in the NCAA.
The only thing that I think if he was offered it, he would turn it down because he's stuck in St. Louis. He has inserted himself in the St. Louis culture, right? Okay. I mean, he's got his bass boat, goes fishing out there, does all that. He has his hockey in Maryland Heights, and then he goes out to the woods and stays there. So I think he would not want to be in like a big Chicago, New York, or something like that. I could see him going to somewhere like Columbus, Minnesota, maybe, somewhere where he can get away.
Yeah.
Right. And I know I used to live in Chicago, so I know that it takes a while to get away. And I think he wants to be 30 minutes away, not an hour and a half or 2 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Brian says they do that like every 2 weeks each month.
Yep. That is true. I feel bad for
Wendy.
Yetman.
That was a fast hour, Wendy.
Yeah.
That was a fast, fun hour, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on today, bud.
No problem.
Right? If you get to watch the game tomorrow, maybe you can come on with me for the pre-games and the breaks and that and talk about what you're seeing.
We'll have to see because I don't know my schedule completely tomorrow.
Okay.
Because it could be a long day.
Hey, I get it, man. I get it. For me, I haven't slept really in like 2 days.
Okay.
Right. I have really bad tinnitus. Mm-hmm. And right now, like when I lay down, I hear nothing. It's for me, when it's quiet, it's like being in the middle of the woods in midnight in April or May.
Okay.
Right. That all that night noise.
Mhm.
That's in my head 99.9% of the times. And then it brings with it other things, like I think I'm hearing people like outside voices talking or radio. And so it made it really, really hard to sleep last couple of days. And right now I barely slept today. So, you know what, guys, I had a great show. Thanks so much. Thanks, Wendy, for coming on. We really appreciate you, Nick. You're a great guest. We love having you anytime. And you know what? Like I said, I still want the Blackhawks to be good because I think it helps the rivalry. Yeah. Right. I think it makes the rivalry better. I think we're done playing you this year, right?
Yeah, they're done playing each other.
Right. And there's no chance that we're going to see each other in the playoffs.
No. Unless some weird miracle happens.
No, actually, I think they're at 0%. I think they're already eliminated.
I don't think they've officially been eliminated.
I think Money Puck had them at 0. They only have you at 0 if you're eliminated. Let me look real quick.
I don't think they're officially eliminated yet.
So we'll find out. Oh no, they have them at 0, dead on. Right? They've got him at 0. And they only put that, like, they have Columbus at 0.3%.
Mm-hmm.
I
could see the Jackets making it. And
they have Ottawa, Detroit, the Devils, Chicago, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Arizona, Seattle, and Montreal at 0%. To me, that means that there's no way they can get in. Right? Like, they're saying that they're projecting Chicago at 73 points. Yeah, no. They're eliminated because you're going to need 95 or better. I mean, you're going to actually need closer to 100 points to make the playoffs in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I don't see that. I think they are eliminated. I don't think that they could get enough points to get in the playoffs at all, to be honest. And I can look at that real quick. So Chicago has 52 points. They have 60 they're at 60, played 60, so they have 22 left, so that's 44. Is that right?
Yeah, they have about 22 games left. So
okay. That's 44 points, so that's 96. They're not officially eliminated. I just can nowhere see them getting 96 points.
That's why I said it's going to have to be a weird miracle if it happened, because
right?
I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Right. The NHL doesn't tell you like they don't put the little X when they've been eliminated.
Not until closer to the playoffs.
Because, like, I know Montreal's been eliminated.
Yeah. Montreal's is terrible.
Yeah. So, and I know Seattle's been eliminated. Right? They only have 44 points. Yeah, they can only get in the 80s. I know they're eliminated. Arizona's eliminated. 53, 97. Actually, what I'm looking at is a 61 game, so that's 22 points. So 95. Yeah, I can't see them getting 95 points. Okay, well, that's enough of that. Hey, man, thanks for showing up today, Wendy. You guys, thanks for showing up. I really appreciate you. Thanks for all your love. Thanks for following the Blue Note Fan Report. I'm Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan for Windy City Hockey, saying aloha, mahalo. And I know Wendy isn't, but you got to know that I am bleeding blue with you. Aloha.